Hey nerds. Not gonna lie, I'm a little upset today. Cause my shit ain't working. I got this audio mixer to make it like, I don't know, to make my voice sound better, to, I don't know, have better audio, you know? It just won't fucking work. And then I can't figure out a way to set up Audacity, which is what I generally use for my audio mixing, to utilize that audio mixer along with my camera. So if I have the Audacity going, if I have the Audacity, I don't today. If I have the Audacity, then my camera doesn't work. And so I would have to try to link up the audio from Audacity with the video from my camera, and I simply haven't the patience for that. I have to pause them both at slightly different times. If I do that through the entire episode, it's going to be absolute chaos. Chaos. My face would be moving and my voice would be talking in different times. And I don't want to talk about time paradoxes today. I will eventually. But today is about prophecies. I know I told you guys that I was going to do one on dreams, which I'm very excited about, and it might be a multiple-parter, but I want to have a very special guest speaker when I do that, and she is my beloved and fucking badass aunt, and we have to postpone that for reasons that are none of your fucking business. So we're doing prophecies today, because that's one thing that I already know a whole lot about, and you guys have been waiting too long for an episode, and God, I'm looking at my sound recorder app, and it looks like my fucking voice is just off the charts loud, and I have been messing with this for over an hour already, so hopefully I can fix that in post. If not, good luck in hell. Anyway, that being said, today my camera is backwards, I think. But I'm repping Generation Decline on my shirt. So if you like hardcore punk music with a lady vocalist who can scream with all the power and ferocity of Fenrir himself, you check that band out. Generation Decline from Bremerton, Washington. Throwing that out there. And on the concept of prophecy and Fenrir, I'm going to tell you about Fenrir. I love any opportunity I get to rant about Fenrir, I swear. On the concept of prophecy, I'm sure you're aware that prophecy is a fucking major aspect of not only storytelling, but spiritual beliefs and religion. I want to be talking about Norse beliefs, Old Nordic beliefs, and Greek beliefs, but also, like, oh my god, and this made it so complicated to research from a non-biased and literary standpoint, Christian mythology, littered with prophecy. So I tried to avoid talking too much about the Christian mythology, because I do that all the time. I never shut up about Christians. I'm over it. I've got more shit to do sometimes, you know? But one thing that I realized is that between all of these circumstances, these different belief systems, different types of stories made for different groups of people, prophecy as a literary device tends to serve one major purpose, and that is, if you don't mind me sitting here and picking my nose for a second while I think of the right words for it. Now I distracted myself and I'm all confused. Okay, so prophecy serves to sort of, validate those inherent fears that we all hold as living, breathing human beings, you know? So, in a sense, like, no matter what, your life is going fine, you're financially stable, you're in a loving relationship, your kids aren't douchebags, whatever, there's still some aspect of being alive in human society, some deep, probably subconscious, unconscious, something deep in there that makes you think maybe we're gonna have a fucking tsunami. Maybe we're gonna have to go up that mountain to avoid the tsunami. What if that mountain is a volcano? What if that mountain explodes on me? There's always some potential of a cataclysmic disaster in our lives. That's, it's in there. We got bug out bags, boys. We got bug out bags all day. You know what I'm saying? But on a different note, prophecy covers that. But it also it exists to talk to us about the fears that we hold within ourselves in a more metaphorical sense, using allegory, analogy, metaphor, like I said, to talk to us about the fears we hold within ourselves, about ourselves and about our own lives. And I have a really good example of that in my second story tonight. But in a sense, prophecy exists to do the opposite of lay to rest these fears. It's to remind us that we are all terrified, and that no matter what, we're all going to die, and probably fucking horribly. And I think that's beautiful. Furthermore, an interesting aspect of prophecy is the prophecies always come from a certain type of person. You know what I mean? Or think of a movie you've seen or a book you've read. The person who tells the prophecy to one of the main characters is always kind of fucking weird, yeah? An old hermit with a haggard beard who never leaves his hole except to utter really unpleasant truths to the masses, or a crazy hot lady covered in ribbons who lives in some water under a rock, you know? And these prophets, they tend to be mostly human. Not quite human. They are humanoid. They probably were people. But something about them is different. It's off. They're weird. And that alone, the way that prophets themselves are depicted, is a way to tell us, as listeners and as readers, that deep within us all, as individuals, there is some power. We are able to see these unseen truths, to know the secrets of the cosmos. But in order to do so, we would have to give up what makes us human, for the most part. In order to see the future, we have to let go of the joy we feel when we see a cute dog on the road, you know? Because if we were capable of that level of sight, that knowledge, that mystical, that cosmic knowledge, we couldn't look at a dog and think, oh, how cute. Because we'd look at the dog and we would know that that dog is going to die horribly of liver failure because its owner accidentally fed it a treat that it wasn't supposed to eat. And there would be no joy left in this wretched life, you know? And so by presenting the prophets in this image, it tells us how important it is for us to not go seeking that cosmic knowledge. And this will tie in to my point at the end of the episode, when I talk a lot about the purpose of prophecy in general, like the ultimate purpose of prophecy. It tells us that we don't want to fucking know. Because if we did, we'd be fucking miserable. And I think that's highlighted really, really well in the two stories that I have for you tonight. I hope you're watching it at night. I always record at night. It would be weird if you watched it during the day, you fucking freak. Jesus Christ. Now I'm gonna tell you a couple of stories. I said. I still can't figure the sound thing out. Oh my lord. Okay, maybe this works. Fuck it. We're doing it live. I'm gonna tell you about Fenrir, which is my favorite campfire story. You get me drunk and put me next to a fire, there's no way you can stop me from telling you about the Binding of Fenrir. So if you don't know, Fenrir was the child of a giantess named Angrboda and Loki. They had several children. There was Hel, Jormungand, and Fenrir. And Loki had some other kids, Sleipnir included, which became the steed that Odin himself rides into battle. It's got way too many legs. The story of how Sleipnir was born is fucking hilarious, by the way. I'm down to tell you that one too. That's another one of my favorite stories to tell when I'm drunk. Anyway, it was prophesized that all 3 children born of Loki and Angrboda would play a role in the end of the reign of the gods and the destruction of the cosmos. Fenrir is my fucking boy, and he has been since I was 12. I actually found a book at the library the summer between 6th and 7th grade that was about myths regarding the moon. And in that book, I first found the prophecy regarding Fenrir. And I memorized it, and I was so fucking stoked to hear about who Fenrir was, this giant fucking gnarly wolf, this giant Viking wolf, that I memorized the prophecy, and then I ran into my mom's bedroom in the night, and I was like, Mom, you want to hear this cool thing that I just read about? And I told her the story of Fenrir, and she was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Did you know that we're Norwegian? And I was like, shit, what? And so, in a sense, the story of Fenrir is not only fucking cool in a lot of ways, especially now that I've analyzed it as an adult who's obsessed with literature and analysis, but it played a role in me getting to know more about who I am and my ancestors and looking into my, my ancestry, redundant, and all that stuff. So this is a very important story to me, and I'm going to adjust my mic input settings so maybe I don't have to suck my microphone's dick. One moment. All right, there we go. That's a little better. We'll try this at 30 input volume. Anyway, that's why the story of Fenrir is so important to me personally. There's more to it, and I can get into that probably after it. But I don't want to get you too distracted from the general and main purpose of this episode, which is Prophecies itself. Okay. Rant done. Here is the prophecy of Fenrir as I memorized it when I was a kid. And this comes from, Völuspá. It's a poem from Völuspá, from the Eddas. If you're familiar with Norse mythology, you know the fucking Eddas. Come on. And this one stanza specifically is in reference to Fenrir and his children, Hati and Sol. And it goes, eastward sat the crone in the ironwood, who furrowed there the brood of Fenrir. Of their get shall be seen a certain one, who shall shark up the moon like a shadowy troll. He shall glut his maw with the flesh of men, and bloody with gore the home of the gods. Dark grows the sun, storms rage in summer, weather is a widdershins. And at this point in my life, I had to look up what a widdershins meant, which is apparently old witchy speak for weird. Like, it's out of whack, it ain't quite right. And, well, to us, sorry, I'm gonna go on what I wrote here for the most part, so if I'm not looking you in the eye, it's because I wrote the story. Alright? Good. So, well, to us, buttons. Well, to us, this seems vague and weird. Ultimately, the prophecy stated that the offspring of the giantess, Angrboda, would bring about the end of the reign of the gods and the destruction of the cosmos. The wolf Fenrir, who is one of these children, would bring the most destruction of the 3 by swallowing the moon and slaying Odin himself. The gods, fearing that this prophecy would come to fruition, took steps to ensure that 3 children of Loki and the giantess would be incapacitated, either powerless or imprisoned. They threw the great serpent Jormungand into the depths of the ocean, and they sent Hel to the underworld. One strange thing about this is that they gave Hel dominion over the underworld. She's like in charge of it now. Now she's the god of the underworld. So that doesn't seem like a hell of a punishment. See what I did there? But in a sense, it is a prison because she was not allowed to leave that realm, the realm of the underworld. She was never able to go back to the realm of the gods or to Midgard, the realm of mankind. She was stuck in Helheim. So I guess in that sense, she was incapacitated. She is not actually present in the stories of Ragnarok, and that's because she's stuck in a different realm, you know? So I guess it worked. It's just, I wonder why she got preferential treatment. Maybe they were trying to be nice. Maybe she was hot. I bet you she was hot. She got that pretty girl privilege. That would explain it to me. Fenrir, however, is permitted to remain in Asgard among the gods, because he appears to be a simple, normal wolf pup. All of the gods, particularly Odin, are wary of the wolf, but looking at him you can't really see any danger. Fenrir was playful and happy, a really friendly pup by all accounts. However, he grew exponentially in size as time passed. Shortly, he was larger than an average wolf, and as more time passed by, he continued to grow and grow until he stood shoulder to shoulder with the gods themselves. At this point, all of the gods began to fear him. Perhaps the fuzzy little pup who had been released into the fields of Asgard couldn't have possibly wrought destruction to the world, but this wolf before them now certainly could. Tyr, however, who had bonded with Fenrir when he was a pup, still did not fear him. Tyr was in fact the only god still brave enough to feed the wolf and to play with him. The two of them shared a trust between them and continued to play together. Now that Fenrir had grown so massive in size, he had taken a liking to games of strength, and Tyr would present Fenrir with items to lift, carry, or destroy, to see how strong he was, and Fenrir took great joy in these games. Seeing Tyr and Fenrir play like this is what gave the rest of the gods what they thought was a great fucking idea. They were now full-blown terrified of this fluffy boy, and Odin was realizing that, yeah, this big fucker could probably take him down. No one wanted that. That seemed terrifying. So the gods devised a plan. Fenrir was far too powerful to be subdued in a normal fight, but perhaps he could be tricked into being bound. The gods prepared a mighty chain called Leding. They brought it to Fenrir and basically said, "Oh, you think you're so strong, big boy? How about you try to break this massive chain?" Fenrir looked at it and gladly accepted the challenge, knowing how powerful he had grown to be. They wrapped the chain around his body and told him to bust out. Fenrir simply flexed his muscles, and the chain was shattered. "Ha! Nice try, nerds," Fenrir said with pride. The gods then made a second chain, named Dromi. This chain was twice as strong as the first, twice as large. They thought for sure the wolf would be unable to break this one. The gods came back to Fenrir and told him that they have made an even stronger chain. If he could break free from this one, no one could ever question his might again. Fenrir found this a bit strange. Why only now did these gods wish to play with him, after they had been afraid of him his whole life? Something was fishy about this for sure, but he examined the chain and decided that he would indeed be able to break it. So he allowed them to bind him again. Fenrir shook himself, knocking the chain to the ground, then strained forward against the links laying across his chest, and it snapped. Broken fragments of chain burst forth and tinkled to the ground like so much confetti at a child's birthday party. Fenrir was very proud of himself and thought that surely now he would be famous across the world for his strength. The gods were fucking concerned by how easily the wolf broke free from what was supposed to be the strongest chain in existence. They realized that no normal binding would suffice to keep Fenrir bound. His pure brute strength was unmatched by any material known to them. Odin sent a messenger down into the land of Svartalfheimir. Fuck you. I don't know how to pronounce that. Svartalheim. Why'd I spell it like that? Svartalheim. It's the land of dwarves. To ask them to use their magic and forging skills to create a fetter that would be strong enough to hold the mighty wolf. The fetter that the dwarves produced was called Gleipnir. Gleipnir was made using 6 mythical ingredients, things that should not exist. The result was a soft golden ribbon resembling silk. The gods scoffed when they saw it because it looked like a simple ribbon. Like, are we supposed to, tie his hair back with it or what? But the dwarves tested the ribbon by yanking on it, cutting at it, anything you can imagine, showing the gods that it was indeed unbreakable. The gods beckoned to Fenrir to come with them out onto an island called Lyngvi, and asked him if he would like to test his strength against yet another fetter. They explained to the wolf that this one was much stronger than it appeared, and they passed it around so each of the gods could show him that no matter how hard they yanked it, it would not break. They said that they bet that Fenrir could break it, though, considering how strong he is. Fenrir definitely knew something was wrong this time. It was a strange series of events leading to this challenge, and the fetter was so soft and silky that if it truly is strong, then it must have been made using some form of magic or trickery. He would gain no fame or honor for breaking such a frail-looking ribbon. He said, knowing that the gods had some unknown motive, that he would only allow himself to be bound if one of them would place their hand in his mouth. This way, should he find that they have tricked him, he would ensure that he be released, lest he swallow that god's hand. If one of them would place his hand in his mouth, it would mean that this game was in good faith, and that the gods were not trying to betray his trust or to do him harm. All of the gods began to stumble over their words, trying to explain that Fenrir need not worry. They all stammered as they tried to find excuses not to place their hand in his mouth, too afraid, until one god stepped forward. It was Fenrir's friend, Tyr. Tyr placed his hand in the wolf's jaws, as the other gods bound him with the golden fetter. But when the gods had finished tying him up, he found that he could not break Gleipnir. He struggled, he pulled, he squirmed, he lunged full force against his bindings, but the ribbon would not budge. And so, enraged, Fenrir bit down and severed Tyr's hand at the wrist. As he swallowed the hand, he began to snarl and howl viciously, trying to lunge at and attack the gods that stood around him. One of them took a sword and shoved it up through Fenrir's jaw, out the top of his snout, effectively muzzling him with the blade. The gods left the wolf behind on that island, hoping that he would be bound forever. Now, mind here, the Norse community is split on something important. There is no clear confirmation whether or not Ragnarok is yet to come, or if it has already happened. The different interpretations of the Eddas, and different ways the oral stories have been passed down, including strong Christian influences, and the things that get lost in translation, makes it pretty much impossible to say definitively one way or the other. However, there is a theme within the stories and traditions that emphasizes the cyclic nature of the cosmos. There are many references to a belief that the universe is destroyed and reborn again, over and over. This lends credence to the belief that Ragnarok has already passed. The prophecy of Ragnarok also states that at the end of the war, several gods and deities do survive to carry on and rebirth the 9 worlds. It is said that during Ragnarok, whether it has already occurred or is yet to come, Fenrir breaks free from Gleipnir and swallows the sun. In his fury, following his betrayal, he wreaks havoc upon the land of the gods and of men, then finds his way to Odin. After a battle with the mighty god, Fenrir swallows Odin whole. Fenrir, in so doing, gets his revenge on the one who ordered him to be bound for eternity. Odin's son Vidar then avenges his father by stomping his foot onto Fenrir's lower jaw and ripping him apart from the mouth. See, what I'm getting at here is that Odin's fear of this prophecy motivated him to set in motion the events that would make it come to pass. Fenrir was perfectly content being a giant-ass wolf and dicking around in the fields getting his snacks from Tyr. He had no beef with Odin at all. But when Odin and the other gods tricked him into being bound, he got fucking pissed. And rightly so, I dare say. Especially when Tyr, his trusted and truly only friend in life, directly betrayed him so as to have him bound. Can you imagine how fucking heartbreaking that was? I don't know, man. I'm fucking Team Fenrir all the way, all day. All day. I think Odin acted like a bitch and got what he deserved. Anyway, the main point that I would like to make here is that this is a case in which a prophecy is fulfilled because of someone trying desperately to prevent it. I got something to say. That story also, while obviously it refers to the human, the existing living creature's fear of a cataclysm, it also tells us a lot about ourselves. How would you react if you were told that something innocuous was going to kill you? Would you personally do everything in your power to prevent that thing from killing you? Probably. Generally, we don't want to die, for the most part. I mean, depression aside, don't talk to me about it. I don't know, nothing. I've never, you know. But then also there's the whole concept of Fenrir's point of view, which is, I think, what makes this story as good as it is. Because from the perspective of Fenrir, who's made to be a monster in most tellings of the story, he was a baby. He had one friend. Everyone was fucking scared of him. That friend betrayed him in one of the most gnarly ways imaginable. And what do you do when you're betrayed by someone that you love, especially if only one person loves you in the world and they betray you? What would you do? You'd probably throw a fucking fit. Someone shoves a sword up through your fucking face. Come on. You're not going to act rationally after that. Jesus. And then also, Tyr is the god of justice. He's a war god, but like of justice largely. And if we're going to analyze the story itself, the fact that a god of justice was the one to betray Fenrir, and Fenrir's rage from that betrayal is what led to the death of Odin, who just purely out of fear bound that wolf. Was it not just that Odin be punished for what he did to that poor innocent puppy? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, there's a lot to unpack. I would love to spend 8 hours analyzing this story with you, but I've got other shit to get onto. This next one, I believe, is far, far more so about the self than it is about an apocalypse, you know? And I bet you fucking heard of it, usually in jokes or pop psychology. Y'all bitches want to know about Oedipus? Yeah, let's know about Oedipus. So this one, I'm going to have to use my notes because I actually had to reread it because I haven't read it since fucking college. That was fucking 12 years ago or so. I haven't read it since college, so I couldn't remember the full details of it. So I just noted it. So I wrote down the notes, and I'm gonna read the notes, and then I'm gonna talk to you to make it more natural, I suppose, instead of a series of sentences that I typed out. You know what I mean? You know how I roll. Get on with it. Get on with it, me. So the story of Oedipus goes as thus. A boy was born, the son of a king and his queen. The king visits Apollo, and he hears that the birth of his son will be the cause of his death and the ruin of his family. So this guy convinces his wife that for the good of everyone and everything, his kingdom especially, the kid has to fucking die. Can you imagine? The kid is brought to a servant of the king, and the servant was told to take the kid to this mountain, and the servant was supposed to pierce this kid's feet, this little baby's feet, and then throw a rope through the holes in his feet, and then hang him up on a tree so the ferocious beasts of this mountain could eat the baby. because this king heard some crazy guy tell him that his kid was gonna kill him and cause the downfall of his fucking nation, his country. He gives his baby, he convinces his wife, the mother of this baby, to give it to the servant and then tell this servant that he has to do that. Can you imagine? Okay, so the servant did that, but he didn't have, so he pierced the hole through the kid's feet. I'm sorry, don't imagine it too vividly. I know where I'm at. So he did that, but he didn't have the heart to actually tie the rope through it and dangle him from the tree, you know? So the servant, instead of doing that, saw a shepherd, like, down on the bottom of the mountain, fucking walking his herd of sheep or cattle or whatever the fuck. And he's like, I can't do that to this baby. So he runs down the mountain over to this shepherd, and he's like, hey, motherfucker, take this. It's dangerous to goat alone. Take this. So the shepherd takes him home with him, cleans and tends to his wounds. The shepherd baptizes this baby, and he names him Oedipus, which means the one with swollen feet. The shepherd was, like, super fucking poor, and he couldn't afford to raise a kid, you know, like, he's not cut out to be a foster dad or whatever the fuck. So he takes him to the king of Corinth, like a neighboring nation state. And the king and his wife had no children of their own, so they were happy to adopt Oedipus as theirs. Oedipus grew into a very strong and intelligent young man. He lived very happily, and he was deeply loved by his parents. He was raised as the crown prince of Corinth. However, during a celebration at some point when Oedipus was like an adult-ish, like 18 probably, one of the noblemen insulted Oedipus by saying he wasn't worthy of being the prince of Corinth because he was a foreigner. Now, Oedipus apparently had had no idea that he was adopted this entire time. So after this interaction, he goes to his dad and he's like, what the fuck, bro? Why did this asshole say that I'm a foreigner? I am the son of the king. Excuse me. And his dad told him not to worry about what a drunk bastard said. But he knew the king was keeping shit from him, you know? So he goes back to seek the truth from the Oracle of Delphi. He was very persistent in trying to get the Oracle to answer his questions, but she fucking refused. She was like, nope, not my chair, not my problem, not talking about that. No, sir. She wouldn't give it to him straight, you know what I'm saying? But she did give him a prophecy, which stated he would have a terrible future. You shall kill your own father, marry your mother, and leave a shameful descent, she said. He hated that, and he left Corinth to avoid allowing that to happen at all. He couldn't kill his dad and fuck his mom. That sounded fucking awful. He was not about it. Wasn't gonna happen, know what I'm saying? Pause for sin. Anyway, he wandered to Greece, and he met a man in a wagon. One of the servants threw him out of the road to let the cart go by, and Oedipus gets in a fight with the servants. But he was all buff and shit, so he kicked all their asses. There were like 7 of them. He was just fucking wailing on them. Bad, 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 bitch, move. Know what I'm saying? And only one of the servants escaped. And he was feeling pretty good here. Know what I'm saying? He kept wandering through Greece, heard a terrible monster was terrorizing Thebes. He went all confident to Thebes, because after that fight, he was like, man, I am strong, boys. Ain't nothing can... I will kill the monster. I'm a mighty bitch. So he goes to Thebes, and he decides he's gonna kick the Sphinx's ass and become a hero. The Sphinx was like a winged monster. It was like a woman with a lion body, and she stood on a rock near the entrance to Thebes, and everyone who approached her had to decipher her weird riddle or be devoured. Like, she literally ate them if they couldn't figure out what she was asking them. And she'd present the riddle, and no one figured it out. So everyone inside of Thebes was trapped, and everyone outside couldn't get in because she was just eating every motherfucker who couldn't answer her riddle. And Oedipus was like, bitch, I'll do it. He was weirdly brave. And he thought to himself, if he died, at least he couldn't kill his dad and fuck his mom. So he was on this, like, semi-suicidal rampage through fucking Greece. Been there, done that. So the Sphinx tells him, she's like leaning over her giant pedestal rock she sits on. She's like, motherfucker. In the morning, this is the riddle. She goes, in the morning, I have 4 legs. At noon, I have 2 legs. And when twilight comes, I have 3. Among all creatures, it's the only thing that can change its number of legs. But the more it has, the lower its speed and strength. So Oedipus is like, it's a human being. The answer is a human. We crawl as babies. We walk with 2 legs when we're normal, like an adult. And then when we're old, we have to carry a cane. That's 4 legs, 2 legs, 3 legs. Dumb bitch. And so the Sphinx was so ashamed that she had been beaten. She was like, oh my god, this fucking himbo motherfucker just fucking solved my riddle. I thought that I was the smartest bitch in all the land. And here he comes around, just fucking out of nowhere, and he answers it, and he's right. That's embarrassing. So she dove off the cliff head first and killed herself. Just, I've been bested. That's embarrassing. Pew! Like a lawn dart. So the king of Thebes kept his promise, which was that whoever defeated the Sphinx could marry his sister, the queen. So Oedipus defeated the Sphinx, the king kept his promise, and Oedipus married the queen. They had several kids together, but then, and they lived a happy life. They lived a happy life. A bunch of the kids grew up. One of them was a teenager by now. They had like 4, He was a good ruler. They had a happy marriage. He was homies with his brother-in-law. Like, fuck yeah, good shit. But then, the black clouds came. And there was a premonition made that something bad was going to happen. Oedipus had been seen as a righteous and benevolent king. But after the black clouds and the premonition came, there was a plague. A plague had fallen upon the kingdom, and everyone was fucking sick and dying, and it was killing everyone in Thebes. And everyone asked the king to just save them all somehow. Because back in those days, they believed that kings hold some holy power. Like there was some God-related reason that they came to power in the first place. Silly shit, I know. But they were like, help us, king, save us from this plague. And he was like, he went to go see the Oracle of Delphi. Oh, no, he didn't. He sent his brother-in-law, the brother of the queen. Cryon, I believe his name was. He went to the Oracle of Delphi again to figure out what was causing the plague. And when he came back, he said that she told him that they must cleanse the land of the wretched and tainted city of Thebes, which was tarnished by a vile criminal. The plague would persist until the one responsible for the death of Laius the king was expelled from the city. Laius had been murdered by thieves at a crossroads, but no one knew who it was who done it. Oedipus asked if anyone knew who done it, Oedipus says if the murderer reveals himself, he won't be killed, just exiled to fulfill the prophecy, to fulfill what the prophecy is asking. I'm sorry, I cannot get over how red my face is. I got my first sunburn the other day, so like, don't talk about it. Don't look at me. Don't fucking. Who told you could look at me? I told you could look at me. That's why I'm on camera on purpose. Just don't talk about it, okay? Okay. So, sorry, that was really distracting. I ADHD. So Oedipus says that if the guy who killed the king is willing to just admit it, he'll just get exiled so they can purify the city. And then he prays that the gods punish whoever did it if they don't admit to it. Because not admitting to your wrongdoings is more shameful than doing the wrong sometimes. It's like, come on. I gave you a chance to admit to it, and you're not doing it, you little fucking motherfucker. So they brought in a clairvoyant, a seer, if you will. He says, when he gets to them, that the knowledge he has is miserable. And Oedipus doesn't want to fucking know. He's not going to tell him. He doesn't want to know. He's like, dude, you don't want to fucking know. You don't want to know what's going on right now. It's fucking nasty. It's going to upset you, and I'm not going to tell you. Not my chair, not my problem. Get me out of this wretched city. But Oedipus is like, reveal the identity of the guy. But the old clairvoyant guy is like, the knowledge will only cause misery. You don't want to fucking know. You don't know what you're asking for right now. And Oedipus is like, no way, man, give it to me straight. Quit fucking with me. Quit fucking with me. Tell me now. My entire city is in danger, and I can fix it, but you won't fucking tell me why? This is your fault, isn't it? It's your fault. You tell me. The longer my people suffer, the more fault yours it is. You know what I'm saying? And so the old guy says, it's Oedipus who killed Laius. It's you, motherfucker. You killed the king Laius. And Oedipus is like, oh my god, now you're just talking shit. I pissed you off. You're angry. You're saying things you don't mean. But fuck you for saying that in front of my people, and I'm gonna have you killed. Because you're talking shit. And you can't do that to the fucking king, okay? I was trying to do something noble. I was trying to help my people, and all you could do was come up in here, spouting your fucking mouth and talking shit. So, fuck you. You're dead, bitch. But the old guy's like, yo, I told you the fucking truth. And Oedipus thinks that Creon, his brother-in-law, who went to go talk to the Oracle of Delphi, he thinks that he did it on purpose. And he was lying. And he, like, fabricated the fact that, like, the seeress was gonna tell Oedipus that he was the one who killed King Laius. And he's like, Creon, you did that to steal my fucking crown, you treacherous little bitch. And Creon's like, excuse me, I have always been your friend, and I don't want your jank-ass crown. I already have all of the benefits of royalty without any of the fucking responsibility. I couldn't get it any better. I don't want your shit. I didn't make this up. I didn't do this. Get off your high horse. Come on. And so the queen, Oedipus, tries to chill Oedipus out, and she tells Oedipus, never mind the things everyone's been saying. She tells him that oracles and clairvoyants don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because the oracle said that Laius would be killed by his own son, and that was her husband, so she kind of knows what happened, and their son died as a baby, so they're all full of shit. And at this time, a messenger from Corinth came. Corinth is the name of the city, if you forget, where Oedipus's adopted parents reigned. He was the prince of that place until he ran away and found Thebes. So a messenger from there came with sad news, and the messenger's like, your father has died, so you should return and take your throne as the heir. And so Oedipus is like, man, that's fucking sad, but at least I didn't kill my own dad like that one bitch said. That means I prevented the prophecy from happening. I'm relieved there. And the oracle also said I'd marry my mom, and, that sounds gross. So thank God that's been avoided. And then he thinks to himself, what if my father died because of the sadness he felt because I left and abandoned him? That would mean that in a sense I did still kill him. It's not worth the risk for me to return to Corinth and potentially end up marrying my mother. Hell nah. Ew. And so the messenger tells Oedipus, oh god damn it, you don't have to worry about that. The queen isn't your real mother. You were adopted, bro. How do you not know this? And Oedipus is like, wait, bitch, how do you know that? And so the messenger is like, I was the one who brought you to her and the king. I found you as a baby while I was walking my herd. Your feet were pierced through, and I gave you your name. I fucking baptized you. I brought you there. You were not born from them. And the queen is like, oh fuck, oh shit, oh fuck. And tries to tell him not to worry about it. It's not a big deal. But Oedipus is all, what the fuck did he really just, like, he just needs to know who his real parents are. He's super freaked out about the prophecy, and hearing he was adopted for the first time just now makes it only that much worse. And so the queen is like, how dare you insist on going down that path? You don't need to dig this shit up. Obviously, now realizing that he's her fucking son. And she begs him, like, to drop it. Quit seeking answers. Quit seeking the truth. And Oedipus is like, I gotta figure out, like, who really killed Laius and find my parents. Like, I have a fucking duty right now. Like, I cannot let this go. So the queen starts freaking out. She's like, don't you dare! Don't you dare! And so Oedipus had, like, no clue why his wife was being so fucking crazy about this. He figured she was worried that the identity of his parents would somehow sully her name or the throne. Like, maybe he had an embarrassing family or something like that. But otherwise, what the hell is with the dramatic shit? And Oedipus learns that there's only one witness to the murder of King Laius. The witness is brought to the court and starts acting hella sketch when he sees Oedipus. The messenger told him, this is the servant who handed him the baby when he was a child. He's like, bro, servant, looking at the messenger guy from his old hometown. He's like, you gave me this guy as a kid, and he had wounded feet. Why are you denying this? And the servant's like, you're crazy. I have no idea what you're talking about. And Oedipus is like, bro, just fucking answer me. Did you give this messenger guy a baby one time? And the servant says, I curse that day when I spared your life. It would be better if you were dead. And Oedipus is like, fuck it, explain yourself. And so he threatens to have the servant tied to a stump. The servant explains that he's going to hate the truth. He tells him that his parents gave him away to him, and his orders were to pierce his feet, bind him, and hang him to be eaten by beasts. And Oedipus is like, fuck, the prophecy did happen. And he realizes that he isn't to blame for what happened. It was inevitable. Fate, if you will. But his wife, mom, killed herself before he even got back from talking to the servant. So he stabbed himself in the eyes with giant needles. Like, fucking dramatic, am I right? So, and then so that when he goes to Hades, he won't have to look his dead parents in the eyes. And he goes to the people and he tells them, I've blinded myself because I'm wretched, cursed, and blah, blah. And he asked to be exiled. And he gave over his crown to his brother-in-law. And his own children walked his blind ass to the city gates. His daughter walked away with him and decided to stay with him in exile. And he thought to himself that his daughter choosing to remain at his side meant that perhaps, finally, the gods have smiled upon him and forgiven him for his wretchedness. And so Oedipus, I find, is a better prophecy referring to the way that we fear ourselves when we're worried about, like, I don't know. That's a good one, isn't it? I never really thought about it in this way since I first read it when I was in fucking college or whatever. But it's like you try so hard to do the right thing that eventually that amount of effort and stress on yourself ends up making you do the wrong thing. Sorry, I've been spending a lot of time in therapy lately. Well, that's not true. I've missed a couple sessions. Not my fault. But, like, this whole self-reflection concept of prophecy. You can see that the story of the Binding of Fenrir and the story of Oedipus, they're both stories in which someone trying to prevent the prophecy from coming true is what causes the prophecy to come true. But they're also vastly fucking different, you know? So in the story of Fenrir, that's like a cataclysmic event. That's someone trying to preserve themselves out of fear, of self-preservation, you know? And it leading to cataclysmic fucking chaos and destruction for more people than just himself. And with Oedipus, he's fulfilling the prophecy on accident because he is scared that someone else will be hurt because of him. And I fucking hate to say it because I like the Norse gods a lot, but in this case, the Greek prophecy is a little less shitty. It's a little more human. It tells a little bit more of a story about giving a shit about someone other than yourself. Odin. I know. If you're a Norse pagan or into that at all, you know that the whole point is that the gods are flawed just like humans. They're no better than us, despite being real big or whatever. And part of that is why the Norse gods are humanized and they're more relatable and easier to work with in a spiritual sense than something like the Christian God, who's supposed to be omnipotent. And like, I can't relate to that. I killed a spider plant one time, you know? But, like, I don't know. I want you guys to think about this and fucking leave me comments or message me or something like that and let me know how you feel about these two prophecies and how they're different but the same and how they both together show opposite sides of the same coin of prophecy itself. You know what I mean? And the purpose of prophecy to use dramatic metaphor to explain to us the stuff that we all hold on inside of ourselves and socially and culturally that we as a macrocosm of people hold. So it's like they remind us that us ourselves on a personal and individual level are a micro version of us as a group. So we hold the same fears within ourselves about ourselves and our lives as we do about our society, us as a group, as a population, as people, and as the world. And I think that's fucking cool. But the coolest part about it is if you memorize it in all the old school fucking pre-modern English language, you can sound really creepy around a fire, you know what I'm saying? I'd like to shout out to my patrons who love me and support me despite my being an absolute shit show and being completely inconsistent in my uploads. I love you guys. Thank you for continuing to support me. I know that my ideas are cool, but I'm so bad at actually getting around to shit. You know, I don't want to talk about it. But there's always some shit going on that fucks me up. And it takes me like a week to recover from any kind of shit that fucks me up. And so here I am fucking up all the time. And then I'm like, wow, I was supposed to record a podcast 3 weeks ago. And I'm glad it fills my heart with joy that you all still give a shit enough to hang out with me and want to talk to me, and you listen to my bullshit. And I always want your fucking feedback. Duncan Idaho's the only patron who's ever like, hey, I like responding to my polls and my questions. Come on, y'all. And you don't even have to be a patron to talk to me or give me comments and feedback. Fucking tell me what you want me to talk about. I'm a fucking treasure trove. I can talk about from how best to get out of being mistreated by police when you're arrested, to like weird Catholic history. I could tell you about how the tectonic plates moved and why we have the mountain ranges we do. I could tell you fucking anything, and I could wrap it into philosophy, psychology, fucking monsters, whatever you want. I am capable of that. So let me know what you want to fucking hear about, and I'll work on it, bitches. I love you, nerds. Quit fucking around. Get your shit together.